What's up, YouTube? Night's Edge here again. Got another little, well, not really a review, not something that I normally do. This is the first time I've tried this. This might be the start of a series or something like that. Just trying to do just like a basic intro to knife dumb knife slang, man. There's a lot of people in the community, a lot of newer people, I think, that don't know what a certain terms mean, terminologies as far as knives go, pocket knives. There's a lot of it that I sure as hell don't know. Still, I've been doing, well, I think I got like 1,500 videos. Been doing it for about a year and a half. I definitely 100% do not know everything about anything at all. Pocket knives is one of them. I learned something new just about every day that I mess with them. So definitely, I would love to see you guys' comments on this. I know, like, going in, there was a bunch of people saying, okay, well, let's watch another video where everyone says you're wrong in the comments or whatever. And that's fine on this one, y'all. Just let me know if I explain something wrong or if I tell you what the term is and it's not that. Would definitely 100% love to know the correct term. So corrections absolutely welcome. That's what the whole video is about, pretty much. So I just wrote down, I don't know, I think I've got like maybe 10 or 12 different terms, everything from kind of like entry level stuff for like newer people to more mid level. Nothing really too particular. We might make some cutovers, do a couple of things to where I go to this or that or whatever. But let's go ahead. We'll start out with I think number one pretty basic thing is scales. All right, so this is a Spyderco Paramilitary 2, and it has aftermarket scales on it. Now, it took me not too long to figure out what scales were when I got into the knife world or whatever, but scales, it's pretty much the handle material, right? The handle itself. So you do have inside of it, you've got liners on a lot of knives. This one's got a liner on the inside there, right? You can kind of see that. Maybe it'd probably help if I got a flashlight for this this video of knife terminology, so you guys can see what I'm actually talking about. But the liners are inside of there. I guess that's another term, right? But this is the handle scales. These are aftermarket Cerberus scales, I think. Tarot Tough scales for this paramilitary, or para 3. But these are that's what a handle scale is. That's all it is. A scale is the handle, right? You can swap them out. Like this is the stock coming from the factory, like this handle scale on this one. This is a para 3 lightweight. That is how it comes straight from the factory. So that's pretty much it as far as scales goes. So, I mean, if you know that, you already know at least one or two knife terms. Getting into the weeds on the next one here. The next one I'm going to say is kind of, I guess it depends on who you are, right? It depends on your budget, and really everyone's different. This is to me, this is a good example, would be a good example of a budget knife for anyone. Most people anyway. This is the Ozark Trail $10 Walmart knife, and they do actually, I should have gotten that one out earlier whenever I was getting all this stuff together. They do have a budget a budget version of that, right? That's the $5 Walmart knife. That, I think Mr. Eddie actually gave me that, so thanks. Shout out to Mr. Eddie. Dartwater gave me that one, so thank you, Dartwater. $10 for this one, $5 for this one. To me, these are budget knives, right? You can just grab it, throw it in your tackle box, throw it in your glove compartment, in your console, a drawer, wherever, and it's there whenever you need it. It does its job. It cuts just like a knife should. Doesn't really have too much as far as like fancy materials, pizzazz, and stuff like that. But this one actually, in my opinion, is a pretty good budget knife. And this is divisive. This is a pretty divisive knife itself. But that's another topic for another video. So a budget knife is whatever you consider it, right? If you're used to buying nothing but $1,000 or more customs, then, I mean, this might be a budget knife to you. This is the Chris Reeve Knives Umnenzyme. These go for around $550. Small batch, USA made, not full gigantic production factory knife. But if you're used to buying nothing but full customs and really expensive knives, maybe this could be a budget knife to you. Maybe you're somewhere in between. Maybe a budget knife to you is one that runs around $100 or so. This is the New Breed EDC Clydesdale. This one goes, they're not available anymore, but whenever they were available, I think these went for about 125. So to some people that might be a grail, to some people might be just a beater, just like a budget knife. So it depends on your budget, depends on your outlook on it, I guess, how much you're willing to spend on knives and stuff like that, how much you're able to spend. So that is the definition of a budget knife to me. It is $75 or less is a knife that's not gonna usually kill my budget, and that's I think a good parallel to a lot of people's, but I mean some people might say $50 or less, some people might say $200 or less, whatever. Budget knife is subjective, not an exact term. You can't really nail that one down like a lot of these. Let's see. Next up, Gimping. That's a good one. Gimping. If you look at the top of the spine right here on this Clydesdale, this is jimping. Pretty much anything that allows a little bit of extra grip or traction, sometimes comfort, sometimes discomfort if it's made wrong. But that is what jimping is on a folding knife. Is that those kind of grooves that are milled out, cut out on top of the spine, and a lot of other places too on some other knives. Again, don't have this one out and ready like I should, but let me go ahead and get this one. This is the Manix 2XL. Now this one has jimping all over it right here, right there on the spine, that little kind of notch right there. Jimping underneath towards the back, jimping here, just jimping. It's a jimp fest is what it is. Huge jimp fest. So that's what jimping is anyway. Kind of allows a little more traction and sometimes comfort depending on how it is cut out. Jimping can also cause discomfort if it's cut the wrong way, too big, too little, whatever, depending on the geometry and the how it's contoured and stuff like that. I mean, jimping could be uncomfortable. All right, next up is Anode. So a lot of people say that this is anodized anode, titanium anode, whatever, anodized titanium. That's pretty much whenever you anodize a piece of titanium, right? So this one has what is called a lightning anode on the handle there, and we'll get back to the anode here in a little bit because I want to do kind of like a little cut over. As a matter of fact, I might do that right now. Do that right now. I'll point so I'll know to do it. Here's a cutover showing what I wanted to show about Anode, and we'll put this one down and go to that cutover, and then now back to the regular video. Right. All right. Here we go. Let's see. Next up, did the Anode, you got reverse flick. All right. So that anybody that's a Spyderco collector, that is probably your typical opening method, I would guess. I mean, I am definitely very fond of the reverse flick, as whenever you take your middle finger or your index finger and use the opening hole and flick a knife open. I used to use primarily just my index finger, and then started noticing, well, hell, everybody's using their middle finger reverse flick. Well, that's pretty much how I do it now. Reverse flick with my middle finger. So that's an opening method. A deployment method is doing the reverse flick. I could probably do a whole video on nothing but deployment methods, and I might do that in the future. This becomes a series. Would like to include some other collaborators on this, maybe Mind of Milton and Tommy Help with Gadgets, Mr. Eddie, maybe even. There's a lot of people who have I've been talking to throughout the last couple of weeks that have kind of made me think that might be a good idea in the future. Let me know what you think about that too down in the comments. And let's not get too off topic. Centering. All right, so whenever somebody says that a knife is perfectly centered or off center, not centered at all, a little to the left or right, whatever, that could be kind of confusing maybe for newer people. Maybe it's something that everybody that's watching this video is like, yeah, no shit or whatever. I don't know, but to me it's something I had to pay attention a little bit and figure out what it was. But once I did, it seems pretty obvious. That knife is centered. This is a new breed EDC Clydesdale. Again, that one is pretty close to perfectly centered right there. Whenever you look down the line, when you turn it like this and you look between the handle scales, how much distance is left or right, that is a knife that is pretty well centered. This one, however, this is a terrible example of centering. This the blade might actually be bent on this one, but hopefully you guys get the point right there. That one is not centered at all. It's kind of veering a little bit towards the clip side, right? And that's a whole nother topic in itself. The goods, the bads, the ups and downs of centering, of bad centering, and how to fix it. But that's what centering is, and that's what this video is about. The knife glossary, knife terminology, whatever I decide to call it in the thumbnail. I think it's going to be knife terminology, and the thumbnail might call it knife glossary, something like that. Who knows? All right, so that was centering. Let's see. We did budget knife. We did scales. What is next? Let's see. Here's a good one. I think, pretty good one to cover. And that is well, find a knife with an example of it laying around here somewhere. One day, actually just have one in my hand. Oh, there it is. Pivot collar. Whew. All right, so that's the pivot of the knife. What the blade part spins on, pretty much, right? I think that's a good explanation of a pivot. There's another term for you. And the pivot collar is that kind of bronzish looking deal that's around that screw. That's called a pivot collar. So if you're looking at a knife with a little pop of color around the pivot, most of the time I would say that you would say, or I would say that that is a pivot collar. So I think that one was a pretty good idea of what a pivot collar is. Let me get that back out here. This is the CJRB Crag. Again, pretty interesting little knife there. All right, so that's pivot collar. Crown spine. This is a good example of that. Whenever you don't have jimping on a knife, you many times, hopefully, maybe not, many times not too, right? But this is a crown spine. Very well rounded, kind of tapers down like that. That is what is called a crown spine. This is the Spyderco Spymato. This is the Italian-made collaboration with Lion Steel. Spyderco, but that is just very, to me, is really super comfortable. That spine right there does not need any jimping at all. It is all smooth, very well contoured. You could call it contour, and you could call it a crown spine, I guess. That is my understanding of the definition of that knife term. Anyway, all right, next up, here's one that I had to have a little explaining myself on this one. Ricasso. He painted some badass pictures in the early 1900s. No, Ricasso, if you're looking at a knife, you're looking at a folding knife or any knife really, the Ricasso is the area, and definitely remember comment sections down there for a reason if I'm wrong. The Ricasso is this flat right here between the handle scale and the cutting edge of the blade. That kind of flat right there is called the Ricasso. Now, within the Ricasso, you do also have a finger choil. That's another term there. Spyderco knives have a pretty generous forward choil on the majority of them. That's what they're known for, is ergonomic grip. So your finger is what is called a finger choil. Your finger's up there, getting pretty close to that cutting edge without actually being on it. That's a finger choil or a choil. Let me see if I can get another, let's get another example out here of one that has a, this is just a choil. That's a sharpening choil, very small sharpening choil on this one. This is a high water knives estuary. Let's see here. Paramilitary 2, same thing. Nice, generous forward finger choil. That's what I call that. Anyway, it's a generous forward finger choil. This is the new breed EDC Clydesdale. That is not necessarily a finger choil, but it's a sharpening choil, I guess, right? But you can't put your whole, or I can't anyway, put my whole finger up in there, right? You can kind of do what I call a trigger pull. I guess that's another slang term for that grip, kind of like a pulling the trigger, kind of choke up like that. Can't really fully like grip it and choke up on it like you can with the Paramilitary 2, but that area right there between the sharpened edge and the handle scale that is located on the Ricasso, see what I did there? Is called the finger choil, or called the choil. Sorry. All right, next up, let's see a couple more here. You got step milling, right? So this blade, I thought the first time I ever saw it looked super cool, man. This is the high water knives estuary, smaller batch, very small batch. I don't think you can get these anymore unless you get them on the secondary. The high water knives estuary, USA made knife, smaller batch. And what is really cool, or one of the things I thought was really cool about this one, is the step milling on the blade. Now it's that milling pattern where it kind of steps down, mill line, mill line, mill line, kind of stepping down, swedging down like that. Swedge, I guess, will be another one. Swedge is pretty much prevalent on most knives. Most any knife's got some kind of swedge on it. You got the flat right there of the blade, and it swedges down like that on this Unmanzan. But that is what step milling is anyway, kind of that it looks like a step right on the blade. Also, another knife with that would be this one. This is the Grimsmo Knives Norseman, one of my favorite knives of all time. Now, the step milling's not as deep. The grooves aren't as deep, not as prevalent, but that is still a good example of step milling right there. Kind of like a record player, I guess, is what it reminds me of. An old vinyl album. That's what it looks like, those grooves on there. So that's what step milling is. And let's see, here is last but not least. This is going to take some disassembly. All this is about to disappear, and I will show you guys an example of one of the examples of a stop pin. So here we go. All right, so now we got the Norseman apart here. Example of stop pin. I had to take it apart. This is kind of a long way of going around to do it, I guess, but it is a prime example of internal stop pins. Right, so if you look right here, these two, that's what's called a stop pin. These are internal stops. There are two of them, right, which is fairly unique. You know, the Norseman, probably not the only knife in existence that has that, but definitely pretty unique, right? So whenever this opens up all the way, that bottom pin right there makes contact. I'm showing this the right way. Hopefully I can show it the right way. Let me get it up closer right there. See how that bottom pin makes contact? That will stop the blade. That's the stop pin whenever it's closing, right? And if you notice, this is carved out, kind of that half circle right there. So it rides on that track. Whenever it closes all the way, like so, it will hit the stop pin and it will close. So that's what a stop pin is, at least an internal stop pin. The Norseman, one of the easiest knives I have ever taken apart and put back together. That's one of the reasons I picked that one to show what an internal stop is anyway. External stop pins, this is a good example of it. This is the Chris Reeve knife Umnenzon. They actually come with those little rubber washers there, so it scratches the coating less. This is right, let's see, right here. So you can see where it's been rubbing right there. You can definitely tell it's been open and closed a few times, but that is what an external stop pin looks like whenever the blade's deployed. That keeps it from, I guess, going all the way back, right? So it's a pin that stops it. It's a stop pin. That's what a stop pin is, as the Chris Reeve knives Umnenzon. And let's cut back to the main video for the next one. All right, so anodization. This is a Spyderco Smock. This is a set of aftermarket scales that I got from Kevin Smock himself that he made. So pretty cool. Nice nuke blue anode is what this is called. Kind of faded though, right? So we'll knock a couple out all in one here with the anode analysis, as it were. This process is used on aluminum and titanium. It involves electricity and the amount of time and voltage that you put into it, right? So to anode a knife green, it would take shorter or longer than it would to anode a knife blue, right? So anodization, that's exactly how it's done. I've never done it myself. I've seen a lot of people do it. Tommy Help with Gadgets does it all the time, and Mr. Eddie, actually another member of the support group, anode a couple of my knives. Actually, he put a pretty nice anode job on, but these are pretty faded. That's why I picked this to use for an example in the video itself. And there's a paper towel. Now, another little fact that you might be wondering if you're decently new to the community, and I myself wondered for a long time, when people review knives, like if somebody unboxes a knife, why are they wearing gloves? Like, why does he have black gloves on, or white cotton gloves on, or whatever? Isn't that knife, shouldn't it handle somebody being able to grip it? Kind of crazy, right? Well, the gloves, the reason for the gloves is, to my understanding, now again, this is a comment involved video, so let me know, the oil of your hand will wear that anode job off over time after handling it, right? So a lot of people, if they unbox knives, especially if it's not their knives, or if they just want to keep their own knives in pristine condition without the oil of your hand fading that anode over time, you will wear a set of gloves, a pair of gloves. Now, a pretty cool little fact that I learned, and we're going to do real quick right here, really quick, that I think it was Mr. Eddie actually told me in a live stream. The Windex, just regular Windex, not the ammonia free stuff, just the regular version of Windex. If you spray some handle scales down with a Windex and then wipe it off, let it sit for a minute, and then wipe it off, for whatever reason, science, magic, I don't know, but for whatever reason, that will definitely work. I've seen it work, and it's working right now on these. That will bring back the shine, the pop, the color pop of a knife with an anodization job, right? So that's pretty cool. I mean, hopefully you guys can tell the difference. Hopefully the camera's picking that up. But I thought that was pretty neat. And so that's a nice little fact too. Not really a terminology, but just something extra thrown in there. And the glove thing, I always wondered myself. So thought that'd be pretty cool to know, to throw out there. And yeah, so that's what anodization is. That's why people wear the gloves, and that's what Windex does. Let's go back to the regular video right about now. All right, back at the ranch with the next one. Next term is overbuilt. Now, overbuilt can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. To me, it is a knife that is, for a pocket knife, is built a little on the heavier side, right? One that could take maybe a little more abuse than what a standard pocket knife would be put through. But in an extreme situation, maybe you would want an overbuilt knife. This, to me, is one of them. This is a prime example of it to me anyway. This is the Cold Steel Knives 8010. This one is sporting the triad lock, which is like it's a back lock, but it's got 3 points of contact inside of there. That's why they call it the triad lock. Very secure. This one has been they have tested these crazy. I mean, there's all kinds of videos that Cold Steel's put out, like batoning with them, beating on them, hanging, hundreds of pounds of weight from them, stuff like that. And they have stood up pretty good. So that is, to me, what an overbuilt knife is. This one, another one, I think. That's why it's on the table. An example of an overbuilt knife. This is the Beowulf. This is a comically overbuilt knife. Now, I would think that the triad lock on the Cold Steel 8010 would probably be stronger if you're considering the locking mechanism to be overbuilt. If you're just using the regular lock with this one, it is a simple frame lock. That meaning that the bar of the frame goes in and you push it like that, push it over like that to disengage the knife. But look at the blade stock on it. that is why I would consider it to be overbuilt, right? Super thick. That is a 1/4 of an inch thick blade stock, thicker than than needed for any practical use. And if you are kind of factoring in everything about this one, you do have another thing on here to kind of contact the blade to prevent it from closing if it's deployed. That is this little hole right there. You got a pin that comes with this knife. Screw the pin in, and then not only are you dependent on that frame lock, you do have a backup, which would be that pin there. But to me, that triad lock is probably a little stronger, but this nonetheless is just a big, beefy, overbuilt knife to me. That is the Midgard's Messer Beowulf knife that I kept around just because of that. I think it's cool. It's neat. It's an overbuilt knife, in my opinion. All right, last but certainly not least, this one probably has probably a lot of people will probably debate me on this one, and I would like to know your opinion on it as well. I put out a community post last week asking about a double clutch. Now, to me, a double clutch is, or what I've understood it to be anyway, up until the point of putting that post out, was if you disengage the lock bar like this, you push it over, and that detent, like this is the Kaiser Hawk, by the way, thanks to Fred the Lug, the detent, this is hitting the detent right here. So this is, to me, this is almost a double clutch, right? That's the detent, but you still have time to move your thumb out of the way of that flipper tab before it closes, right? To me, that's almost a double clutch. Now, that is not even what a lot of people, or most people, as it turns out, consider the term double clutch to mean. I always thought double clutch is whenever you have a flipper tab knife, you push the bar over, and that flipper tab smashes your thumb before you can move it out of the way because that detent was so late on there. That's what I took the definition of a double clutch to mean. Now, if I remember to do this whenever I'm editing this video, might not, I don't know. I can flash it on screen, some clips from the some comments from the post that I put out. This is one person, Todd Carr, actually saying double clutch when you press the liner of the frame or the frame out of the way to close the knife. The knife unlocks instead, landing on the detent ball. It lands before it on the flat of the blade or on, if installed, the detent ramp. A little bit different to me. And I saw another video. I Googled actually double clutch. And the guy that I saw on the short, the only thing I've seen, if you are not Google, YouTube, what is a double clutch on a pocket knife? Double clutch. This is the Kaiser Megatherium. So right, I push the bar in like that, and there it sits right there. That is it on the detent, right? So it's sitting on the detent ball right now and not on the lock bar itself. Now move it up a little bit, and it is locked out. Now it's sitting on the detent ball, right? Still, to me, this is nowhere near a double clutch, even with that big prevalent flipper right there, because you still have all the time in the world and plenty of room to get your thumb out of the way if you're in a hurry. But that guy's definition of double clutch, right, is if whenever you shake the blade, instead of when you're trying to shake it shut, instead of going past the detent ball and closing, it does that, right? So this is sitting on the lock bar. Now, to a couple of people, they have told me that's what their definition of double clutch was. So I guess for the last little bit of terminology, I'm going to leave you guys with something to comment on, right? What do you think's a double clutch? Is that a double clutch? Is it not? Is a double clutch what I originally thought it was? Let me know in the comments down there. I've always been under the impression since getting into knives that a double clutch was whenever that flipper tab smashes your thumb. And I very, very much could be wrong. I'm wrong quite a bit, and I'll be wrong again in the future. So anyway, man, this was fun. I really enjoyed doing this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. Hopefully half of what I said makes sense, and hopefully maybe it helped somebody out. I don't know. Hope I am definitely planning on turning this into like a series. Maybe we could do blade materials, handle materials, stuff like that. And just call this one is knife terminology, though I thought it'd be fun to kind of go through all the some of the little slang terms and stuff like that that some people might not know. Maybe it'll help somebody out. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Till next time, hope you have a good morning, evening, night, whenever y'all are watching this. And remember, y'all, stay sharp.